Hello and welcome to whiskyresource.com. This is review number 102. And before I get into the review, just want to say a few things. The first is that I'm going to be making a few changes to some of the reviews I'm going to be doing very soon. So I've mentioned the certified originals a few times over the last few videos. I've put links down to the description below about how you can get involved with the certified originals if that's your scene. But recently I put out a message to the chaps and lasses on the certified originals about a proposal I was making to some changes as to how I do things. And basically the format is going to be that when I review a full bottle, that is a 700ml, or in some instances it's a 500ml bottle, but a larger bottle of whiskey, I'll be sending out a blind sample of that whiskey before I do the review to those that have want to take part. So I'll send one sample to one person. It's blind, and I want to ask them for their input. So it's going to be blind. I want to get them to nose it, to taste it, to tell us what they think of it, what they think the strength is, where the whiskey comes from. Is it a Scotch whiskey, Welsh, Irish? Is it a bourbon? What kind of cask maturation do the spec it has? What do they think the ABV is? How much would they be prepared to pay? And to give it a score, and as well as a would they buy it themselves. So the idea behind this is I'm going to be using blind opinion about the actual essence of the whiskey as information into my reviews. So I'll have them do that review and give it to me, and then I'll use that information and I'll put that input into my full bottle reviews. So I'll still be doing the sample reviews, and of course I can't go send out samples of samples I'm sending, doesn't make any sense, but full bottles, hopefully it'll have a bit more input and a bit more clarity and more meaning to a review when it's had this input. Of course I will be sharing the review with the person who did blind tasting before it goes public, so they can see it, and if they've got any further input then they can certainly put it forward, and at that point they'll hear what the product is. It'd be great to see if anybody can actually guess any of the whiskies that I'm going to be sending out. I've got some great whiskies that I'll be getting lined up to send out to people. I've already sent out the first 2 blind samples for future videos. Hopefully in not too long a time the first blind whiskey full bottle review will come out. So that's number 1. Number 2 is I've just had my first anniversary of Whiskey Resource with my review 100, which has done really well. I'm really pleased with that, so thank you to everybody who subscribed and has watched the video. If you haven't already subscribed, just remember it is totally free. You just need an account with Google or with YouTube. They're free to set up, and hit that subscribe button, and if you hit the little bell icon as well, you'll be notified of any future videos that are getting put out. But with a 1-year anniversary, it's a bit of a celebration, comes prizes. So I've not done a prize for a short while. I did 2 last year. I did the Jura 10-year-old, which was won by Toby at Whiskey Shared. And then I did a bottle of Jack Daniels, which was for the Independence Day celebration, and that was won by Jack Webster, I want to say his name is. So two full bottles. I've got prizes lined up in the near future. You have to watch my videos to find out when those prizes and how you can win it'll be announced. I'm not going to announce them out on social, it's only going to be on my videos. So you have to be subscribed, you've got to have that notification going to find out what the prizes are and how you can go about winning them. But there will be prizes coming up shortly, so just watch the videos. So what is today's review? Today I'll be reviewing a bottle, a miniature that I got as part of a tasting pack that I bought a short while ago. It was the Mackmyra, or Mackmyra, depending on how you want to pronounce it, the Swedish distillery. So it's one of these bottles here I'm going to be reviewing, and it's the Svensk Rok is the one I'll be reviewing today. So I've had these a short while. It's been a bit of a while since I reviewed the previous Mackmyra, which was the Grunty. Check that out. Check that review out if you haven't already seen it. Svensk Rok. So this is a Swedish single malt whiskey. I say from Mackmyra. It is a smoky single malt whiskey. Non-age statement, bottled at 46.1% ABV. According to the bottle here, I thought it was 46.2. I'm just gonna, 46.1. It is 46.1% ABV. It is non-chill filtered. It is natural colour. I say it's a smoky whiskey. So what they do with this is they get peat from their local bog, the Karen bog, or in Swedish it's Karen mossen. So they dry the malt using that peat, but they also put juniper twigs into the fire. So they say this has some essence of juniper as part of it. This retails as a 500ml bottle. So because it's a 500ml bottle, I've had to do some price calculations to get it up to a 70ml bottle. But as a 50ml bottle, if a 500ml bottle rather, you're looking at £41.97 for a 500ml bottle. You can pick it up from various places. To give you some ideas of prices, the Whisky Exchange sell it for £42.25. Masters of Malt sell it for £39.68. You can pick it up from Drinks & Co for £39.95, and the distillery themselves, shipped to the UK, because they do have distribution channels in the UK, it's £46. Well, how does that translate into a 700ml bottle? Well, as an average price, the 500ml bottle is £41.97. If you were to do an upward calculation to a 700ml bottle, it would be working out with £58.75. So £58.75 for 700ml if they were to do that. Cask of 46.1% natural colour, non-chill filtered, Swedish smoked single malt whiskey. That's pretty much all I think there is to say about the Rok, the Svensk Rok. I'm not going to do the value score. You can read me review if you want to see those, and obviously you'll get the overall score as well on the write-up review on the website. So it's the first time I've had this particular Mackmyra, or Mackmyra, however you want to pronounce it. But generally I've heard good things. I know that No Nonsense Whiskey, Vin, is a fan, and his whiskey of the year last year was the Grunty. He's a fan of the Mackmyras. Anyway, let's get on to it and we'll see how this particular whiskey compares. So on the nose, it's if I was to classify this in any whiskey group that I've had experience with, I would have said that this was along the lines of a peated Highland Scotch. Maybe West Coast peated whiskies. It could fit into a Talisker, although it doesn't have some of those maritime notes. But it's sweet. It's noticeably smoky. And it's not jumping out at you, but you can pick that smoke up. There is some peat, some sweet peat. There is some aromatics coming off it. It's quite fragranced. As for juniper, I'm not really a gin drinker. I can't say I've had an awful lot of experience with gins and with juniper. It's a pleasant nose. It's not one that you can nose for particularly long. I don't think there's an awful lot going to be given off it, but we may put some water in. but on the palate. It's fruity, it's light, it's quite refreshing on the palate actually. Slight mintiness, mint refreshment going on. Citrusy, herbal, earthy, definitely grassy. Bit drying towards the finish. It's got minerality to it as well. There's a gentle candied sweetness coming on there, like gently candied pieces of fruit. The smoke is noticeable there. It's like a delicate tobacco smoke. I mean, I'm not talking about cigarette smoke, not even pipe smoke really. I'm not a smoker, so I haven't really had an awful lot of experience of them, but it's given us that impression of maybe quite a light cigarette smoke, or light tobacco of some kind rather. Tiny bit of pepperiness to it. Oak dry on the finish, a little bit of bitterness. You're kind of left with a little bit of green grass funk and dryness on your palate. Now, all the while I'm tasting this, I'm kind of considering that price of almost £60 for an equivalent 700ml bottle, and I'm yet to be convinced that it's worth £60. I could quite imagine if Highland Park had put out a budget non-age statement whiskey that was lightly peated. This is kind of what they would put out. Adding water brings out more malt, a biscuity level, damp cardboard. Bitterness comes forward more. It's much better without water. I did put a fair bit of water in that just to kind of give it an impact, and that is too much water. In terms of alcohol strength, the 46% wasn't too hot. It had a little bit of youthfulness to it, but it was clever enough to hide that youthfulness, and you could probably say you were drinking an 8 to 10-year-old in terms of how it performed. Would I buy a bottle? No, I wouldn't. I think 60 equivalent pounds is a bit steep. £40 for the 500ml bottle. No, I wouldn't. I'd be looking at the bottle size going, where's my extra 200? Why have I paid too much money for it? If this was sitting on a shelf for £25 for the 500ml bottle, I would take a punt, and it would be something I would like to share once all this lockdown's gone and I can have my friends back around for some whiskey tastings. I'd quite happily provide this as a blind dram for people to try at £25 for the bottle. But at the £40, as a lightly peated, lightly smoked whiskey, as I say, this could get away with being a smoked Highland whiskey. And I'm quoting Highland Park as an example as to maybe what this could influence people into believing it could be. It's missing the heather, that you may find in a Highland Park. It's not really got as much honey influence there. It's more candied. I can't say I'd buy a bottle. Not really. I think there's too much of that tobacco influence going on there. I'm finding that a little distracting, a bit off-putting. I've kind of made my mind up as to what I will score this, but I wouldn't buy a bottle, unfortunately. So that was the Mackmyra Svensk Rok Swedish single malt whisky, bottled at 46.1% ABV. All credit to their bottle strengths. As I say, if we look at the other ones there, 46.1, 41.4 and 40%. So they do have a decent range of whiskies there with different strengths. So it's not like they're all aiming for the same strengths for each of the releases, which is good to see. But I think this is probably, as I say, too expensive. That's it. I'm babbling on now. I'm just kind of not wanting to give up the hang up. There it is.